Okay, we have another one for you guys today, and it's called Top 10 Crews in One Piece History. Right? So at number 10, we have the Donquixote Family. Doflamingo created a crew around him. They acknowledged him. They were like, boy, you got Conqueror's Hockey. Here's what's called a double fruit. They slid him a double fruit. Goose Bay, that's trouble. And Diamante and all them. They ran their shit like the mob, Anybody fucks with the Don, which is, Doflamingo, you're gonna get shot. You skip him in line, you're gonna get shot. You step on his shoes by accident, you're gonna get shot. That type of thing. They look after their king, right? And they all they all call him Young Master too. He demands, commands respect in his crew, right? He was pissed off when Sugar went down. She was a key member of the crew because she kept people in line. She kept basically Dressrosa under control at the behest of Doflamingo because she was turning people into, toys. And then when they became toys, people forgot about them. And it's like Doflamingo can still run around like he's the king and he's doing well by the people, even though he's the one who made her do all those things, right? They're a tight-knit group. That's why I got them at number 10. But at number 9, another really like in the family kind of thing, and it's like really in the family with this group. We have the Big Mom Pirates. We got the Big Mom Pirates at number 9, all right? So the Big Mom Pirates at number 9 because, well, she got the bright idea after she was with another pirate crew who's also on this list. But she, had to, change plans. She started, fucking around with everybody, every race, every man that she could. Created, children. She had, I don't remember how many children. She had like 60 or 70 children and then like so many grandchildren too. But her older children and her children who had like, really powerful devil fruits and knew how to use them, better hockey, became her commanders. And it was all in the family with them. She has Cracker, one of her, sweet commanders. She has Smoothie as one of her sweet commanders, and then she has Katakuri, who has Future Sight. He gave Luffy a great fight, if you remember Whole Cake Island. And they're at number 9. All right, and this ain't a video about who's more powerful necessarily. It's about the crew and if they go after, if they achieve their goals or not. They didn't achieve their goal of trying to find One Piece. Big Mom was defeated at Wano. Again, we have another crew that's powerful. We have the Beast Pirates at number 8. Beast Pirates being at number 8. We have Kaido, who was also a part of the same crew as Big Mom a long time ago. But when shit went south, he had to go. He dipped out with the Devil Fruit and he created his own crew. He recruited Albert. That was the last of the Lanarians. He became his right-hand man. He became king. And then he recruited somebody who used to work with Vegapunk and Mads, right? And Queen, right? And he's also Frankie's father, apparently, too. But, that's besides the point. He's a beast pirate. They all ate ancient zone devil fruits because they are dinosaurs. Kaido ate the mythical zone devil fruit. Fish fruit, Eyes of Dragon. He was known as the world's most powerful creature, right? He's a creature. He's not a human being. He demanded, he commanded his crew pretty well. And then these, people, his commanders, did pretty well. They were kind of tanks in their own way. All of them. Zone devil fruits give you that kind of like extra durability, right? And they were on their way towards the One Piece, but they were defeated at Wano as well. So at number 7, we have the Cross Guild. The Cross Guild is headed by Buggy the Clown, which we understand that that's just for, fans or whatever, right? Because we know that the real people running the show is the guys by his side. which are Crocodile and Mihawk. But Buggy's so known and, you know, widely popular, right, that, you know, he can keep the heat off of Mihawk and Crocodile while they go and do whatever they want to do, whatever they're trying to do. And then another thing with the Cross Guild is they affect the world. So they turn the tables on the Marines. They got the bounty set on the Marines too. You know, if you catch this captain, you get, 500 million berries, because he found Captain John's treasure, and he can actually, pay that out to people of the world who are, poor and starving, and, they need their fucking, ends met, but the government makes it hard for them. So then, they can do shit like that, and, Buggy takes care of them with that, and that's why they're a threat to the world, and he's making moves towards One Piece too. Now, I don't know if he has any poneglyphs. He has I think he has the least amount of poneglyphs, but he wasn't part of Roger's crew. I'm not going to say that Buggy can't, at least make it till after, me. And that's why they're at number 7. Because he has Mihawk and Crocodile on the side. Mihawk being the, guy he has, right? Then we have number 6. Who would I have at number 6? We have the Whitebeard Pirates at number 6. Yeah, we have the Whitebeard Pirates at number 6. The Whitebeard Pirates were a close group too. Edward Newgate always wanted a family. He also ran with the same pirate crew as Big Mom and Kaido. They're on the list, up the list. That crew is up the list, but the crew that, Whitebeard created was a band of, his sons. The people he picked up. He picked up Marco from Polo Graham after the war of the God Valley incident. Then he picked up, Jozu and Vista, and then they all became his commanders. They were his sons, and he would go to fight for any of them. He lost his life at Marineford because he, had to save one of his sons. That was a failed mission, though. And, Whitebeard never had goals of going after One Piece. He never did. He had the dream to have a, family that he loved and he could protect. And he basically achieved his goals, but, at the same time, it's like, you're a pirate, you gotta have some piratey kind of goals too. And he was a pirate for a long time, and he commanded the seas. He was one of the 4 emperors. I'm not saying he was weak or anything like that, but these other crews kind of have more ambition and more drive towards shit like that. So we have the Blackbeard Pirates at number 5. Blackbeard, he played his cards really well. So first off, he left Whitebeard's crew. Well, he joined Whitebeard's crew, and then he left after he acquired the devil fruit he always wanted, the dark fruit. He found it, ate it, left. He caught Portgas the Ace to become one of the 7 warlords, but she was a warlord for basically, not that long. He used that status to go to or to Impel Down and recruit more people to his side who were in the lowest levels of Impel Down and anybody else who, survived, Then he went to Marineford and grabbed his second devil fruit, which was Whitebeard's devil fruit. And then he fought Marco in the Payback War and defeated him, cementing himself as one of the 4 emperors. And he, took over Hachinosu as well. These are big feats. These ain't, small feats. This is shit that other people haven't done. He's the son of, somebody else. We'll talk about that, later on in this list. But the Blackbeard Pirates, they achieve their goals through any means possible. They don't give a fuck who they have to run over, who they have to, shoot down, or any of that shit. And now all of the crew members have devil fruits now, currently. And they recruited Aokiji, a former member of the Marines, an admiral at that. So they have extra power on their side too, moving forward. But I got them at number 5. At number 4, I got the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats came a long way from the beginning. They did. You know, they went their separate ways, not because they wanted to, but Kuma needed them to train more. He didn't want them to be like eliminated, so he took it upon himself to send them to places where they could at least train and then regroup later, because they weren't ready to go to the new world quite yet. They come back 2 years later and they're stronger than ever, but they still, need to, fight against powerful opponents. They teamed up with Trafalgar Law, and they freed, different nations. They did during the pre-time skip. They helped Vivi out in Alabasta. They saved the people of Skypiea from Eneru. They saved their own crew member from CP9. And like that's when the world actually turned their heads on them and was like, oh shit, this like little pirate group is actually like, doing shit to our like world government agents. We can't take them lightly. Luffy goes to, Punk Hazard, he goes to Dressrosa and he frees Dressrosa from Doflamingo. He, and his crew even split up again, but it's not one of those things where it's like, they've done that before. They've done that before and they made it happen, and they still did. We have to go get our crew member Sanji back. We can do that, and our other group can go to Wano with Trafalgar, who's our ally at the moment. And, Luffy has that kind of thing that other people don't have. He can have alliances with other crews, and it doesn't fuck with what he has going on with his own crew. He's a good captain like that. And then they're after the One Piece, they got poneglyph etchings, and they have somebody who can read the poneglyphs, and Nico Robin. So they're, making their way towards the One Piece. They're probably going to find the One Piece. This is the main character group. But they're at number 4 because these other groups are just better power-wise, as the weaker members of the Straw Hats kind of slowed them down. That's the only reason I have them this way. And they are going to find the One Piece probably. But that ain't today. As of today of me making this video, it ain't happening. And I watch One Piece, man. But the next crew on the list, that's the Red-Haired Pirates. Red-Haired Pirates, Shanks commands a crew of men who, for what we know, none of them have devil fruits. They have special skills. Yasop has his, long-range sniping abilities. He could even, go into showdowns with people and win. He fought against Daddy, the Daddy Master, right? The sniper's best, the Marine's best sniper, right? We have Lucky Roo, who's a quick shooter. He's quick to pull that trigger. When he needs to, he's like that. That's where his speed comes from. Doing this, not not running people down. Trust me, there you go. Don't let other people fool you, man. He ain't doing all that. But he's still like useful, right? And then we have Ben Beckman, who's said to be like on par with Shanks to some degree, at least with his hockey or whatever. And he's like, the right hand man of Red-Haired Shanks, who was a part of Gold Roger's crew, was the son of Saint Figureland Garling, who's a holy knight, but was with Roger because Roger took him in, right? Allowed him to stay on his ship. After Roger's execution, he did his own thing for a little bit. He got a crew. He captured the Nika Devil Fruit, and he planned on giving it to Ace, but then upon seeing Luffy, gave it to Luffy. Allowed Luffy to just have it, and, now he basically is one of the 4 emperors, trying to prevent Blackbeard from becoming that guy, eyeing Blackbeard and being like, Blackbeard's not here, The Marines tried to come to Wano and stop Luffy, but I, had to run them off, Later, also Eustace Kid tried to come through. He, took care of that to protect his allies, and that's a part of being an emperor, and also, King of the Pirates would do similarly. He would protect, what's under his banner and shit, right? So, Shanks' crew, the Red-Haired Pirates, is at number 3. We got at number 2, we have the Rocks Pirates. Now, some people will be like, why aren't they at number 1? Oh, the Rocks Pirates were created by Rox Beck. You know, he wanted to overthrow Emu and basically become king of the world because he knew of David D. Jones, who actually did that, and it was part of his bloodline. And it was time for him to he believed it was time for him to take over and shit. He won all of his crew members: Whitebeard, Golden Lion Shiki, Big Mom, Captain John, Young Kaido. Well, maybe not Young Kaido, but the rest of them through Davy back fights. He did all of that. He tried to recruit King Harold, who declined because he was trying to get in good graces of Emu in the world government. And he's like, yo, man, you don't need to do that. You better well side with me. You'll still have your own mind and you can still do what you want. Under her, you won't be able to do shit, boy. Unfortunately for him, God Valley happened. He got taken over and all that shit happened. The Rocks Pirates were disbanded. But the whole thing about the Rocks Pirates were he was a powerful man who attracted powerful people. He commanded powerful people under his, flag. These were, people who went on to become their own captains. Big Mom, Kaido, Whitebeard, Shiki, Captain John, all these other fucking guys. And it was him that did that. This guy was not weak. I'll get his scorecard out there one day, and it'll be high as fuck, man. But he and his crew are at number 2, and only because they didn't achieve their goal. Their goal was to basically unite get other people to follow them, and then they were going to run on Marie Joie. That was his plans, but then he got stopped. So number 1 is Gold Roger, the Roger Pirates. The Roger Pirates are at number 1. The Roger Pirates were not as powerful as the Rocks Pirates, if you ask me. They could, go toe-to-toe with them and other things. They could fight. However, what Roger had, he wanted to find the last island that people said was fable and it wasn't real. It was a myth. Roger, what are you talking about? Whitebeard was saying shit like that. He was like, man, that shit's not on my agenda. He's like, no, there's another island past Lodestar. We couldn't get there because we didn't find the 4 red poneglyphs. And he actually took time to know and figure this shit out. We need to find the 4 red poneglyphs to get to the One Piece. It's out there. We're going to find it. And this happened during the last years of his life. When he was sick and other things, he was still able to command his crew, get Odin to come on his crew so he can read these poneglyphs. They find all 4, get them together. Odin does what he does or whatever, and they find, Laugh-Tale. He becomes king of the pirates. And then he also kicks off the great pirate era that comes afterwards. Then, Luffy then has, a road paved for him. Somebody who's done it before and that he could, try to, imitate. Or not imitate, but, follow in, his footsteps kind of shit. And he needs that. So, Gold Roger and the Roger Pirates, they're number 1 because they achieved their goal before he died. Pirate careers do not happen forever, man. So he achieved his goal and all that. Rox did it. That's why he's at number 2. And he did attract all those people to him, but he didn't ever achieve his goal. Gold Roger did. That's why he's at the Roger Pirates at number 1. And those are the top 10 pirate crews of all time in One Piece. Be cool, go on the corner and let me know in the comments what you think.